Today I'm sitting across from a man who redefined Indian badminton. And not just by what he achieved on court, but as Sir said, what he built of it. And a Padma Bhushan awardee, a force behind champions like we know, Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, we have Arundhati Arun. A man who believes in power of silence, service, and self-discipline. So please join me once again welcoming Shri Pullela Gopichand sir. Without taking much time, sir, I would just prefer to proceed for the questions now. And I will be just putting some questions. It's up to you. You are going to give us the details about it. I am not going to ask more than that. As I just said, we'll begin from the beginning. So as I just said, a person who is known for his silence, service, and self-discipline is a person to whom his parents used to punish a lot. They were very much tensed about him that his brother is achiever in studies. He doesn't study. He doesn't like to sit in a classroom. And one more point I would like after his father's transfer to Hyderabad, he joined badminton. There is a lot of story behind, in all these areas, there is a story of what I can say, एक परिवार का त्याग है उसमें, एक पिता का सपना है और एक बहन और माँ जिन्होंने बहुत ज़्यादा इसके लिए त्याग भी किया है, लेकिन भाई ने और बेटे ने उसको प्रूव करके दिखाया है that he is not a चूहा. I would request, sir, if we can just begin with that point, and we all would like to understand who called you Chuha and why.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. For me, and I say this, I say it with all genuineness, that I've been very fortunate that I've had a life which is God's grace. It was destined to happen this way. I say this because we moved to Hyderabad because my father worked in a bank, and back in the day, every 3 years he used to get a transfer. So we were in Orissa, Tamil Nadu, coastal Andhra, and then when we came to Hyderabad, we were living in Matrusri apartments, which was near the stadium. Every day I would go out and play cricket. This was the time, 84, 85. I think everybody in the world of India was playing only cricket. So my dream was to become a cricketer. I loved to play, and then I broke a few window panes. Yes. My neighbors would complain. Then my mother took me to the stadium to get us out of trouble. So I was super impressed. I went to the stadium because the stadium was nearby. But admissions in cricket were full. So we moved from the cricket, and then back in the day, the other sport which people knew was tennis. Yes. So we went to the tennis court, and parents walked out, and we joined badminton. Years later, my parents told me that when we walked out, there were many cars parked outside. And they thought it's a rich man's sport. To chodo ye nahi khelte. Badminton admissions were there. Nobody was playing badminton. So I got into badminton. So in some sense, it is only by chance that I took up the sport. And I was also not a tall kid at that time. I was young. I was very small. So my coach Hamid Hussain sir used to call me Chuha. And he was this big 6'2" big Pathan kind of a physique. And then we would all be moving around behind him because he would be very angry if he saw us roaming around in the stadium. So we would be behind him, and then we would sneak out to ask him, sir, ek shuttle. Because that is one of the biggest prizes we get. And sometimes he would just come out and just throw a shuttle to us, and he would say, chal chua, ash ka raj. So I think honestly, my biggest dream back in the day would be a stadium full of empty courts and lots of shuttles. That is how it was. And Hamid Hussain sir, um, hats off to him, because he never taught me how to play badminton. And but he taught me how to love the sport. And I think when I look at a young coach, or when I look at any coach coaching young kids, I think that is the first step. You have to make people love the sport, and your job is done. You don't need to teach them; they'll learn themselves. But they need to be mad after the sport. So for me, Amida Singh sir was that person, and I fondly remember him every time I see a young kid and I coach. I just think of how he was to me, and he was a great person. And hats off to him for actually being part, genuinely teaching me so much.
And similarly, in sequence to this, we would like to listen about the practice that you used to do. In a gap of 10 minutes, you used to get a quote. And even in schools also, like he was the one person who used to be ready for practice all the time. After his school, between the gaps, exercise gaps, when he sees the seniors are not there on court, so he'll immediately grab the court. Like few things were there, I guess, and for the championship, the shuttle thing. So I would request you to just give us the background of that, and plus your first Doordarshan appearance. Till that point, we would surely love to listen that why all these small things were important, why coming into newspaper at that time was also very important for you.
For me, sport was everything, but it was still never a career. In my mind, it was everything. But Telugu parents, maths, physics and chemistry, engineering and medicine. So I went on to write and to add to my problems, my brother went to IIT. So, so life was not easy. It was a tough life. So we had some pretty strong people at home to match up to. So life was difficult. But having said that, I always in my mind dreamt, and I always would say this at that point of time, I was not smart enough. I was not smart enough because sport is not a smart choice. If people were to think about ROIs and career options, sport doesn't fit very well. I remember my teacher, ma'am used to say, Gopi, there'll be one national champion, but there'll be so many engineers. What are the chances that you will be a national champion? Why play the sport? And she was genuinely wanting me to do well in life. And she was the teacher who, when I won the All England, she just cried and I cried. And it was genuine love which made her say that when I was young. She said, your one brother goes to IIT, he'll be a big guy. And the other brother, what happens to you? So she was genuinely concerned. But I think that's the reality of sport also. So for me, I think those moments were important. Those challenges were important. And they were all packs at home. If I studied loudly from 4:30 to 5:30, back in the day, schools now I think have moved a little bit, the ratification or the by heart language. I think I had to study loudly so that my mother could hear in her bedroom continuously for 1 hour. And if there was a gap, then she would shout and I would go on again. So that process actually ensured that I played badminton. And in school, the thing was that from 5:30 in the morning, when I went back to school, the teachers remembered me as the kid who came last to class and who was the first to run out of class. That is how they remembered me. Because if I went early to the stadium, I would get the court 10 minutes more than the others would. And if everybody left at 7:30, I had that small window till 7:45 to run, to play extra for 15 minutes, run back home, and then change, have a bath, eat breakfast, and report to school at 9 o'clock. So that whole process I had mastered to the minute, and I would just reach the bell. Before the bell and the doors close, I would reach the school. So that is one. The other thing was, the pact was every 15 minutes I studied, literally every 45 minutes I studied, 15 minutes I would get to do wall practice at home. That is what it was. So I get my 15 minutes if you study 45 minutes. This is before the exams. So that is how I kind of maximized and played. I was mad after the sport. I didn't know what I would do in life, but I was mad. I loved the sport. And I think today when I look back, I think that's what helped. That madness helped. But it is scary to think that I didn't have a plan B. And it's scary to think that what if I had failed.
Yes, and while playing, coming into newspaper would add some value to like, okay, fine, you come late, right?
Yeah, today's day and age, I think Suhas is here. I think, thank you Suhas for all your work. Because what happens is, I remember I beat Paul-Erik Hoyer-Larsen at the Austrian Open. He was the Olympic medalist of '96. And I clearly asked my mother, Mom, did it come in the newspaper? Because you're in Austria, you're playing a tournament, you're playing the semifinals, you beat the world number one Olympic medalist, Olympic gold medalist. And then you go back home and sleep in the hotel room, and all you're wanting is somebody acknowledging that you won. And that newspaper, Mom said, no, it's come big in the newspaper. Nothing came. That is the reality. You want some recognition somewhere. So when people write, and today's day and age, things might be a little different. But back in the day, just to see in the results section, one name written, Gopichand beat so and so, 15-8, 15-6. That you underline, show it to the principal, show it to your teacher, show it. My mother would show it to our relatives, who say that what is the use of this fellow playing sport? So I think those small things do make a difference, and press makes a difference. And I think the support which you get from these quarters does matter. And I think it's a very important part.
And that's when we are talking about the support thing, we must mention the support of your parents, your family, that it is mentioned in the biography as well, that for years they haven't went to the movie. Hoteling was not the option. And
I think it's, to be honest, some of the things I've done in my life have been crazy. They're not supposed to be done like that. And for today's day and age, I think for our parents, it's very difficult, or my kids, to even think of it, that I did these things. My first biryani, which I ate in Hyderabad, was in 2002. It's like unbelievable. I went to a restaurant twice in my life before that, even in Hyderabad. So it's almost like crazy stuff. So, and to be fair, I think the kind of sacrifices which the family has made is unreal. My father had 4 shirts, and he was a manager of a bank. But 3 kids, he would have, or mom would have to wash and get the shirt ready for Thursday. So that is, we were not in poverty by any chance. But there was not a rupee extra we had to spend. So if we went to a restaurant and that chicken curry was 30 rupees, my mom would say, get it 1 kg, we'll make it at home, and we can eat all of us twice that day. So that is the kind of work. And I'm again saying, we did it very happily. We didn't have extra money, but whatever money was needed was there. When I had my injury, I remember we needed 94. I had a brace to be bought. It was $500. That back in the day, 30 rupees was that. It was the same money as much as a Kawasaki Bajaj was at that time. So I remember my friends telling me, क्या कर रहे है? गाड़ी खरीद लेता, अच्छा है. But my parents didn't, what, batter an eyelid, what they call it. Batter an eyelid for actually that money to be spent. We didn't have extra money, but actually we did that. When I went for my All England, 20,000 rupees was what was needed. 5,000 my college gave. The rest of the 10,000, another 15 was needed. We managed to get 10,000. My mother had to put her last bit of jewelry in, the Mangal Sutra as they call it. But we did it all happily. I don't think my parents have said it. And probably the saddest thing in my life would be that my sister didn't play badminton because the cycle had only 2 places. And I and my brother had to go in it. So kind of some of these things are scary when you look at it, but they did it happily. And thankfully, when I look at this journey today, it's God's grace. We are all there. And that All England, I went on, played well, and we would eat in the Gurudwaras to just save that little extra money. And we went to the French Open, and I and Dipankar both had finished our money. And we had reached the quarterfinals. And our hotel booking had finished. So Puri sir, who was our head coach then, put us with a Pakistani friend of his who was a Victor dealer, Abdul. And his wife made us some fantastic biryani because she saw 2 famished bukhe log in playing. So these were the kind of stories we would have. And I came back from that time picking up old shuttles at the All England because many countries left old shuttles at the All England. And I would stay back to bring those shuttles back because shuttles was a prized position there. So I think these were the kind of things I've done. Some of it crazy. I don't know why I did it. But yes, I think I've worked hard. But to be honest, and this, when somebody looks at it from the outside, might sound like a story of poverty and hardship. And no, it was a life which was blessed. And I was supremely happy doing it. And God's grace, things have worked out phenomenally well for me in my life, and truly happy.
So as we have just discussed, that 1994 was the injury. So you don't look it as a breakdown. So what, but we have seen that you have taken it as a breakthrough. What exactly that particular thing teached, like so many things were there. So how did that shift so many things in your area after that England win? Things change, but what things change around you? There is nothing changed in you. You are the same. You, your routine is the same. But how have you observed that such kind of breakthroughs have changed things like people, or maybe we can say that the way world treated you? Like, have you seen the change in that?
After 2001?
Yeah. All England win के बाद में जो change आपने देखा?
Of course, I think All England is huge for us as a country. If you're an All England champion in China or something, they don't bother too much. They have many of them. Even an Olympic medalist, they don't bother. But in India, if you're an All England champion, if you're an Olympic medalist, there's no better country in the world to be a champion than in India. They treat you very well. So this is the reality of sport. People won't bother to give you anything before, but after it, I think till today I keep enjoying the benefits.
Yes, but after that also you did not stop. Your discipline, your routine, your things were as they were before. Many winners are there who stop at one point, they get slowed, but your pace was going up. And there is one point that people, like his partner who shared the room with him, he used to shift in another room because he do not allow a person to switch on the fan also. What was that story?
No, I think I'm allergic sometimes.
The
And when you,
sinus story also we can include in it. Like most of the time, parents don't understand what is happening with the kid, why they are not performing. And same thing had happened to you. You had that particular thing, and you came to know it later, and then you have changed few things again.
I think for me, I had challenges with my health. I didn't know it when I was young. So a national in India, what happened at that time was we used to have district, state, and few tournaments, and we used to have one nationals. The first nationals, this was 1987, happened in Chennai. It is a coastal place, and suddenly the coast and the humidity and the air just hit me, and I had sinus. And I was very bad. I lost my matches because when you go on court, you can't breathe properly, and your heart is thumping, and you lost the match. And then for a year, you realize that nobody supports you because they say state champion hai, national level pe kuch zyada nahi hai. And then I go to the next nationals, and this nationals was in Calcutta. And then again the same story, because again you're on the coast and the air is heavy, and then you sleep under a fan, and then it hits you. So I didn't understand. So many of us thought, even including me, that it is the tension of actually having to leave the sport if I lost at the nationals. But in reality, it was that I had a problem of allergic sinusitis, which was triggered by the coastal weather. And luckily later on I found it out. Until now, in the morning we were there, and I was saying, don't put the fan on me, because I immediately catch cold. So I think I'm extremely careful. I would always sleep on the floor. I would have no air condition, no fan. So a nightmare to have me as a room partner. And I'm so happy that Lakshmi doesn't complain too much about it. Because the moment she's sleeping, I'm switching it off. And the moment I'm sleeping, she's putting it on. So, but that's the way it is. But back in the day, I was a tough guy to actually share the room with because of these conditions. But I think sport requires such drastic measures, and I did what I can to be to play.
And you actually always maintain a balance of result-driven ecosystem, which is actually what I can say, embody both bhakti and karma. How you have inclined towards it? Your mother was into that side, plus for the badminton, most of the people who wrote or listen his biography may know that his aunt was a national champion, and that was something which encouraged the parents also and you also. But what about the ecosystem that you made result driven, including bhakti and karma concept? What was that?
I think today when you speak of all these things, uh, they're all in retrospect. I think at that point of time, it was you love what you do. You call it discipline, I call it love. You call it sacrifice, I call it, that's the only way I know. So I think when you actually love something, when you're passionate about something, then discipline and sacrifice are not the words which come. It is about you loving, doing what you feel like, and actually thinking it was of great sense of gratitude for having a life blessed to do what you're doing. So when I looked at, say for example, I would end up at the academy at 4 o'clock in the morning. And people say, boss, how can you do that? So much of discipline. But it never felt that way. But if you ask me to go to a party at 9 o'clock in the evening, that feels like sacrifice for me. If you want me to go on a holiday, that feels like sacrifice for me. Going to the badminton court is something which I love doing. It's never been work. So I always thank God and I say, boss, jo bhi hai, I get a life to live where I'm wearing shorts and going to work. What better life can anybody have? And it's such an honor and a pleasure to actually get this as a blessing from you. So I always feel that way, and I hope that this continues for the longest period of time.
So, as a student, you loved that and you were into it. Now you are a coach. From your student
I
days,
love coaching as much, and I get to play still on court. So I think it's a blessing which I continue to have.
as a coach, you actually created champions. Saina, Sindhu, Shrikant, we have Arundhati, Arun. They all are different. Like this question I'm asking in behalf of coaches also. Every student is different. So what's your process in understanding and shaping a champion without forcing them into a one size fit all mold sort of? They are not one size fit and you have different strategies for everybody. So we would request if you can just shed light on this particular point and also give a small story also behind that, because nowadays students have students have Saina, Sindhu, to look into them as, idol for them. During your time, it is clearly mentioned when you have started, Prakash sir was also like, he was also out of the court at that time. So all this thing, including you as a student nowadays, and what exactly an approach should be there with the coaches?
I think it's the life of a sports person is very, very good, because it's not because of the money you get or the recognition or the fame. It is because of the focus which it gives in your life. You want to pick something up to eat. You as an athlete are thinking, is it good for me or not? You're going out somewhere, somebody asks you, can we go out somewhere? It's against one simple question, is it good for me or not? This approach all your life makes it very simple for you to decide anything in your life. Go out, eat, party, function, everything is against one question. Is it good for me or not? Is it good for my game or not? But then this becomes a problem when you become a coach, because it's still about you. But at some point, if you're able to shift the mirror on the other side and say, whatever is good for the student, I will do. If that approach comes up, then this whole question is answered in an instant. And this problem is solved forever. So when people say, what is your style? You're not saying, this is my style and the player has to adapt. No, I don't have a style of my own. Whatever is needed for the player, I will do. And that is all the style you have. If it is shouting, if it is saying it softly, if it is luring them with reward or punishing them, I think it doesn't matter. Whatever works is what I will follow. So the mirror which was always towards you needs to reflect on the other side, and that is the simple answer. It happens instantaneously when you understand it. For many of us, the switch doesn't happen. We as performers are driven and getting results because of one formula, me and me and me. And that to shift to the other side becomes a very big challenge. But the moment you shift the mirror, the same energy translates and we can actually become the best.
Just a flip question on that. If you could go back in time and whisper one line to a 16-year-old Gopi holding a racket for the first time. I'm again saying you were the 6-year-old at that time. So holding a racket for the first time in 16, if you imagine, what would you say?
The only thing which I would have said to myself is, don't be so harsh on yourself. It's not worth it. Don't cry after losing so much. It's not worth it. And things would have happened. I could have had the same journey forgiving myself easily. And I've cried after all my matches. I felt very, very bitter. It was important to learn from those matches, but it was not necessary to cry after those matches. So I would have told that young Gopi, it's okay. It's okay to lose, not to worry too much.
So, what was the most emotionally challenging moment for you? Like, not as a player, maybe, but as a mentor who watches dreams being broken before, like, so many challenges, and they then rise again. Like,
I think the very nature of sport is very challenging. Out of all these kids who are here, everybody is aspiring to be a champion, right? If all these kids were in a math class and you had a teacher who was decently good and had unlimited time, everybody would actually get 100%, right? But even with the best of teacher and the best of facilities, if you have a competition, not all of them are going to win. That's the reality of sport. So for me, when I look at kids losing, but still giving all the effort which they have, and they're branded as losers by parents and coaches and society, that is what bothers me. Because inherently, the very nature of sport is such that everybody cannot be a number one.
yes.
And that is a reality which is there. But our expectations out of our children, coaches' expectations out of our kids, is that everybody needs to be a champion. And I think when you actually have such unrealistic expectations out of the entire group, then you have a problem. Education is okay because you can go back and say, I'm top 100 in IIT, fantastic, you're celebrated. Top 1000 in IIT, also celebrated. You get a rank in NEET, you're celebrated. But you're number 2 in the country, you're asked, why didn't you win? So that is a problem which we need to address. Today, there are many champions here. Arun is a champion, Arundhati is a champion, Akshya sitting there is a champion, Rasika was there, she was a champion. Many, many champions, whom I would in my world, for me, somebody like a H.S. Pranoy is champion par excellence. But then, in his own eyes, he's not seeing himself as the biggest champion because he sees the void which is there. I am showing you what you have won, and you're telling me what you don't have, which you've not won. I think that is sad for sport. I think for me, the real essence of sport is when we start celebrating the effort. I think Madam who was here was talking about the process, right? The process is king. How do we celebrate the process? When a kid goes out there and gives his heart out and plays well, do we treat him as a champion when he comes back, or the guy who is actually indisciplined and goes on the podium, are we celebrating him? I think this is a big question mark we would have. And we need to be realistic about things. Improvement is important. Improvement is what we should aspire for. Being unrealistic about the goals is also what we should. Because if a young Gopi thought that I won't be a national champion, he wouldn't have been a national champion. But the kid has to think that this is my only goal and I will achieve it. But the parent and the teacher should be okay if they fail. And if they fall, we have to provide the safety net around it. So I think this dilemma needs to be addressed and this needs to be understood. And for me, this is very, very critical.
Yes, actually. One more point, like aspect I would like to add in here, like if you can just guide in that regard also. We spoke about failure. But nowadays we have seen that success also goes in the mind of the student, and sometimes with the parents also that particular thing makes some kind of misunderstanding with them. I even saw when players are losing their tournament, they literally thrash the racket on the floor then and there on the court itself. So how we can say that success and the personality, or the success and the emotions, or the humanity is to be balanced? Like, you only can give a correct path on that particular thing. How a success can also be handled. Failure, okay. But handling a success is also important.
I think be very important for all of us to take a step back and focus on the process and regard success as okay and failure as also okay. We shouldn't get out of board celebrating the victory so much that if you win, you're everything, and if you lose, you're nothing. That cannot be the attitude of a matured sporting nation. You win, it's okay. You lose also, it's okay. But then did you fulfill your potential is the big question mark which I am having. And I do believe that Indian champions have not still fulfilled their potential. If you have the ability to be the world number one for 5 years or 10 years, and if you've won once, then I think you're a failure. You might be the best, but you are a failure because you've not fulfilled your potential. If somebody has the ability to run 10 seconds, and if he runs 10.5, then that's a failure. But if you have the ability to run 12 seconds, and if you've done 12 seconds, that's success. So how do we really calibrate and celebrate this is very, very critical. And teachers also, it's a supremely important job. I think we have some great academicians. I come to an academic school and I start talking about education, I feel very bad because I'm not qualified. But in reality, I find this as a big question mark in education as well. All of us go to a class, and I experience this, that's why I say this. We go to a class, 9th class, Gopi, young kid, 14-year-old, goes to class, having missed the last few classes because I was playing a tournament. The teacher is teaching the 5 people who are 95% in class. The rest of the 45 of them, the subject is flying over their head. They have no clue what is happening. The Tare Zami pe ho raha hai. We have no clue of what the hell is happening. And I'm just hoping that the teacher doesn't ask me a question. That's all I pray about. This is reality. This is how a sports class goes. You go flip it on the sporting side, on the badminton court. Every coach wants to coach the 5 kids who are going to win the state championship. Nobody bothers about the rest of the 45 people in the class. This is a reality. Whatever we might say on the outside, this is a reality. But if all the 50 kids are my own kids, what would I do? Will I let this be? Will I try to find an answer for this? The parent wants an answer for this because it's their kid. The teacher is finding the top 5 and he's teaching them to become 100 so he can get a medal. And this is unfortunately the education system. This is also being followed in the sporting system. Somewhere down the line, we need to break this down to a more practical thing where the guy who's like me, who has 20% marks, think of an achievable goal of 25. The guy who's 40 thinks of 45, and the guy who's 90 thinks of 95, and the guy who's 95 thinks of 100. And the teacher is only doing that bit, because when I move from 25 to 35, I'll move from 35 to 50 or 70 or 100. But from 25 to 100, I don't see a hope. The teacher also doesn't see a hope. And this reality or this flip in the education system is something which we need to address. And this is something which we have not done. For years, we've had ratification as the only methodology. Today they say, no, it's very wrong. Cambridge says you write cursive writing and it causes rheumatoid arthritis when you're older because the hands are not right. Whatever we've been thinking as clear 100% right principles are being questioned and said wrong. So maybe we are wrong in our entire approach to education as well. After 20 years of going into education, a kid comes out from college, he has no clue of what the hell he wants to do in life. What do you want? Good job. What is a good job? Good paying job. What do you want? More than, and I remember my friend Pradeep having told this to me in 2001. He said, Gopi, decide what you want. And he made me write on a sheet, a long list. He said, whatever you want, you write. And I wrote, I want a big house, bungalow, wife, kids, blah, 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 long. I thought I will have an endless list. No, but half the page and it was done. Big car, 4 cars, 5 cars, whatever I wrote, BMWs and Mercs, everything finished. But then at the end of it, he said only one thing. He said, remember this, if you want a bed which is bigger than what you are, that is luxury. If you want a bed which is much bigger than what you are, that's super luxury. There's no problem in wanting any of it. But if you want a bed which is bigger than your neighbor's bed, then you have a problem. You'll never be happy in life. And that's a message which has stayed with me for life. I think it's very important that kids understand what they want. It cannot be dependent on what the neighbor wants. And I think that's something which kids after 20 years of education don't have a clue about. What do you want? Don't know. And our whole education system is work less, pay more. That's a good job. Give less, take more. That is profit. And that's what MBAs and businesses are doing. So I think unless we address these fundamental flaws in the system, unless we stop celebrating champions just because they won, but they've been role models for ourselves, I think we won't be doing justice to who we are. So I think we have a lot of challenges what we have. Every time I tell a kid at the academy that you're not good enough, it just burns my heart. I hate it. But I'm not an MBA college or an IIT college. Every 4 years a new kid comes in. I have to remove all my students at some point of time because to add new students in, I have to remove my students. And it hurts me when I do it, but it's a bad job to have. So if I had some job which I hate about mine, it is that only thing.
So one last question is family discussion. You said that wish list and all. So maybe you wrote in wish list, good wife, compatible wife. So you and Lakshmi ji have actually built more than a home. And now your daughter is also into sport. So we can say that you are actually building a legacy. So how has your personal journey as a partner and father shaped your philosophy as a mentor?
I think it's very important. I remember this CBSE was doing an exam. They said, we'll do a fitness test. And in their mind, they said all kids should do push-ups. And I think it's a very fair ask, right? Everybody should do push-ups. And do running and push-ups. And we'll mark all those marks. And I was involved with young kids. In my mind, the visual images of a 10-year-old slightly obese kid in front of a class of 40 kids trying to do a push-up and failing. What is the impact it will have on her life? what trauma will she go through for the rest of her life? I think that became a point which I started to reflect, because whether it's Arundhati here, who was a 15-year-old came to me, or much younger players, say a Saina or a Sindhu with 13 or 9 or 10, or my own daughter, I would see their progress and I would actually ask this question: will my kid, if she is subject to it, what is the trauma it will have on her life? I think that sense, and I was lucky that all my children, whether it's Saina or Sindhu or Arundhati or Arun or Satvik Chirag, or all of them, in some sense, I look at them as my own children. And then when they lose, the pain which goes through it, and they win, the celebration which happens, and when they go astray, the pain which and the mistakes you've done, and the mistakes the system has done, I think start to bother you a lot. So I think it's been a journey. I would say, I would at the end of the day say God's grace, bow my head and say, boss, jo bhi tune kiya hai, and I'm happy with whatever I have. But I wish India as a country has so much more potential. If we are not head and shoulders above the rest of the world, then we should be cursing ourselves for not building a system which actually does it. Unfortunately, we've only scratched the tip of the iceberg which we are capable of. But yes, we could finish my lifetime without going any further. But what we have done in badminton is, 1994, when India didn't qualify for the Commonwealth Games, and Indian government didn't send a team for Commonwealth Games, 30 years later when we won the Thomas Cup, I think that is the story available for us to see and learn from across sport. If we can do it in badminton, we should repeatedly do it. If we can do it in badminton, maybe many other sports we can do it. So I think there is a lot possible, but everybody has to work together. And that may happen, very possible that might not happen. So we only will be left behind that we could have done it and we haven't done it. So this is how I would just leave it. I try to do it in some bits. God's grace, whatever I've dreamt or whatever I've thought, my life is far better than that, and I've achieved much more. So I hope we continue to do that.
So we now shift gears into a quick rapid fire round, and one word, one sentence. So just 5-6 questions. One player who challenged you mentally, not just physically.
I would say Peter Gade.
Match to replay in your mind, win or lose.
I hardly do it. I'm somebody who believes in not recycling things.
Okay. What is difficult, meditation or match practice?
Meditation.
In case if you wish to give a book to an athlete, which will you think to give? Which book?
See, my life has changed a lot thanks to a lot of books which I've read. For me, I think the autobiography of a yogi was one of the first books I read, and that has left a big mark on my life.
One value your academy will never compromise on.
There are a lot of things which, as a coach for me, I think indiscipline would be one.
Sindhu, Saina, Chirag, who argued a lot?
There'll be a 9-year-old kid or a 10-year-old kid who will be the most, because none of them actually would ask me more than a question. And that's the challenge which you have, right? So as a generation, I think Shrikant or Pranoy or nobody has actually said any word back to me or asked me also a question. बोला है चुपचाप करेंगे. But then you have a 9-year-old उसको बोल रहा हूँ 2 round भाग. वो बोल रहे हैं सर मैं बैडमिंटन खेलने आया हूँ मुझे भागना क्यों है. So I think it's a very different world we are living in.
Finally, your definition, just one line for a true champion.
Somebody who's achieved his total potential, given another chance, another life, and you had to start off from scratch again, you couldn't have done better than in the effort part.
True. We'll just quickly cater 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Questions should be only question, not personal introduction, and also आप वही सवाल पूछें जो during session cover नहीं हुआ है. So, quick question, please.
So good evening. What is more difficult, as a player or as a coach?
So, coach.
I am also coaching this time.
I think unrealistic expectations are one we have to be clear about. The second thing is don't recycle trauma and don't blame anybody. I think these are important things. If your expectations are low and realistic, it's a very important factor in life. I think many of the times we have unrealistic expectations, and that's something which you should be trying. And yeah, I think जो भी हो रहा है भगवान दे रहा है, ऐसा करके attitude करने से ठीक है. After you do it, at the time of doing, see, one thing I've always told my students is, लोग जाके मैच में प्रेयर कर रहे हैं. मैच में भगवान 1 पॉइंट दे दे 1 पॉइंट दे दे करके भीख मांग रहे हैं भगवान से. So I said, when you're praying, you pray as though God is everything and He is the one who gives you. When you're playing, trust that you are everything. There's no God there, and your effort is what is going to give you the result. And when you finish the match, also believe that whatever has happened for your good. I think that is the attitude you should have. When you work as though you are responsible. When you pray as though God is the one who is giving it. And when you finish it, also you believe that whatever has happened for my good. And that is the attitude which will actually stop you from getting into these things along with over expectations. And be realistic about what is your potential and what you can do.
Connect this young athlete with the doping kind of things, which is increasing day by day. So I would like to have an answer from your end. How will you connect this doping with the young athletes?
I think it's really, again, unrealistic expectations, wanting to cheat to get ahead, and wanting to do these things for jobs and stuff. So I think it's something which should be really avoided, and fairness is important. And even if somebody else is doing it, whether it's age doping or whether it's substance doping or any other kind of enhancement kind of things like draw doping or association push or something like that to help you. I think they're very short-term things which are not going to help. Eventually, your performance should talk, and it has to talk so loudly that people will have to notice who you are. and you have to trust yourself to get to that level. And any other method is not going to help.
So,
I think the way our system work needs to be more mature, and process and a drive has to be more from an athlete's perspective as well, and understanding. So it's a deeper issue which has a lot of other connotations, and I don't think I'll have all the answers to share here. But I think over celebration and overly celebrating the mediocre result is one of the reasons. I think we just have to wait back and imagine somebody like a Lee Chong-wei, right? He had 12 back-to-back Malaysian Opens he had won. For 12 years, 11 years he won, 12th year he lost in the final. What kind of dominance is that? And that is what is, and the guy is simple in the sense, I go on court, I will win. Year after year after year, 12 long years. And that for me is what performance is. Consistency over such long periods after being the hero. I think these are some of those rare examples we have. So people who go after performance, not just medals, I think are the ones whom we should celebrate. And sometimes when we don't do that, then we get these peaks and plateaus and downfalls and stuff.
So actually we really do not have much time, and if we keep asking questions, it will go on, because I can see now around 7, there are more. So I would request Gopi sir to please accept our invitation to be a part of Orange City Literature Festival in the month of November. It is on 21st, 22nd and 23rd of November. So you can block either day for us. So if he accepts it, we'll proceed it. And as Kunda auntie said, no, we would wait for the November then. We would really sorry for that, because taking one question will again, dishearten the other person. I would request you all to please read the book Shuttler's Flick, and also there is a biography of Sir Pullela Gopichand, which is of Suresh Sharma. So I would request you all to please grab these 2 books. Maximum questions will be answered then and there itself. Today, he has to rush. So it's like we have to close this session here today, and we'll chase him again for the November. And we'll bother 3 of you sitting here. So we'll again and again say, Mangesh sir will be there, so we'll request him again. And I'll just eat up the all chain of Raisoni sir to get him here. So he, for sure, you will get all the answers. Please go through the books, and huge thank you, sir. This is like a blessing for us to start the literature festival, because no one can discuss more about the literature there. So it's a humble request. Think over our invitation. We'll follow up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The best coach is he who makes you love a sport. Thank you so much, Pullela Gopichand ji. Thank you so much, Dr. Mronal Naik. And to propose formal vote of thanks, I now invite Executive Director, Raisoni Education, Shri Shreyas Raisoni ji. Please propose formal vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is with immense pride and heartfelt gratitude that I stand before you to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the Raisoni family and the entire organizing team of the Orange City Literature Festival, the Knowledge Series. This evening was more than just a session. It was a celebration of ideas, inspiration and integrity. We are truly honored to have had Padma Bhushan Shri Pullela Gopichand ji among us today. So your words have not only enlightened us, but also reminded us of the power of purpose-driven living. I extend my sincere gratitude to all our collaborating institutions whose support made this evening possible. NDBA, MBA, and the AABA. And of course, Chitnavis Center, our esteemed cultural partner. Thank you for believing in this unique confluence of literature and sports, and for standing by a vision of nurturing values through such thoughtful initiatives. I would also like to thank a dedicated organizing team, volunteers, media partners, and each member of the audience for your presence, patience, and participation. Let us carry forward the essence of today, not just in memory, but in action. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Please rise for national anthem. राष्ट्रगान के लिए खड़े हो जाएं.
सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you so much. I request all of you to please let the guests leave the venue first, and we all wait after them. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, can we have a session here? Can we have a chat, please? थोड़ा सा please.